staggering, Stuart Robson.
Absolutely. Some people would say that where was the effort, where was the determination, where was the organisation for much of the season? Ten Hag will say they got two centre-halves out that he wanted in the team all the time, with Martinez and Varane. But as a team, they worked so hard. Wan-Bissaka did brilliantly at times. Dalot, the left-back. In midfield, Amrabat, I thought, was really good. Mainu, probably the man of the match. And Rashford and Garnacho were a threat going forward. They got their tactics absolutely right today.
They are the two kids who delivered the goals and much, much more. Well, it was history for City last Sunday. It's near hysteria for United today, 6 days later. They've beaten the seriously serial winners that are Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, and deservedly so. Yes, Doku got a goal near the end, but De Bruyne and company. Pep Guardiola had a sixth sense about many things, but I think he had a sixth sense about this yesterday. If you look back at his press conference, it's Manchester United's triumph on a dramatic Wembley derby FA Cup final day by 2-1.
It is just the most extraordinary story. Manchester United win the FA Cup. No one gave them too much of a chance, but Erik ten Hag got it absolutely right. Manchester City were not at their best, and boy, did United take advantage. And you think back to the road here, you think back to the Liverpool game, late winner after extra time. You think back to Coventry, Haji Wright offside by a toenail, and we said with a smile on our face beforehand, Clive Allen, that their name might be on the cup, and guess what? Their name is on the cup. Manchester United winners, and deserved winners today as well.
Absolutely, it takes a performance. Yes, you have to have a little bit of good fortune along the way, but Manchester United today have played the Premier League winners from the last 4 years with very little chance, and they've come up winning the game. The magic of the FA Cup for me, absolutely incredible. Great first half from United, slick, quick, better intensity about their game. Response from the Premier League champions in the second half. Didn't take their chances. Big moments in the game which cost them. And Manchester United are FA Cup winners once again.
Extraordinary emotion, and it will be an emotional day for Erik ten Hag if the reports in the newspapers these last 2 days are true. This will be his last game in charge. They didn't want his future to hang on one result. Had it done, well, it would have been the dream result, but still he will leave, if he does indeed leave, with a smile on his face. And as Martin said in commentary, the fact that it was the young players who carried them as well. Garnacho and Mainu was outstanding, Clive.
Absolutely sensational, and a quite wonderful second goal from a brilliant Manchester United attack. But throughout the game, Mainu's intensity, quality on the ball was exceptional.
And you think back to 2016, when by all accounts Louis van Gaal was told he would be leaving on the pitch after the final. Well, Ten Hag's future is perhaps a bit more certain than that. Guardiola not happy at all with the referee, Andy Madley, but they did not lose this game because of the referee. There is no question about that. They lost it because he was out-coached on the day, and they were outplayed by a very good Manchester United side.
Yeah, very organised defensively. Defensively, we talked about their frailties this season, but Ten Hag's team today, the way that he built that defensive structure, Amrabat absolutely superb, with Mainu in that heart of the midfield, which denied De Bruyne any real quality ball. Dispirited City supporters, but jubilant, the jubilant Reds of Manchester.
And you wonder as well, Guardiola still rages at the referee, still wants the conversation. You wonder as well about this latest crop of Manchester United youngsters as well. Garnacho, Youth Cup winner a couple of years ago. Mainu, Youth Cup winner a couple of years ago. Is there a new crop coming through?
Well, there's some very, very good young talent, and those two in particular have played a massive part. Having won the FA Youth Cup with Manchester United, now win the FA Cup, and what a contribution they made today.
Another thing to sit back and think about is Manchester City. Of course, all the hopes of Champions League, Premier League and FA Cup, many take this competition for granted for them for a long way, and they've ended up with that Premier League trophy. Real Madrid and Manchester United have done for them in the other two. That almost goes down as a failure of a season for all their quality, doesn't it?
Well, when you consider they did the extraordinary treble last season, that they've come back winning, okay, just the Premier League, an incredible achievement, but just shows you also how difficult it is to come back the following season to replicate anything that you've achieved. Pep Guardiola, I think, has said that in the last week in the build-up to this FA Cup final, but you have to give Manchester United the credit for their performance today and the result they've achieved.
Well, emotion all around. Penny for the thoughts of Marcus Rashford as well. FA Cup winner today. Harry Maguire will be a key part of England's Euro campaign. Rashford will not. Lovely to see Johnny Evans out there as well, enjoying a moment like this. A mixture of young and old. An excellent Manchester United display, and a sign, as the guys were saying in commentary, had he had a full complement of a squad all season, what Erik ten Hag might have achieved. I think it would have been significantly better than 8th in the Premier League.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think all managers have complained or certainly been hindered with injuries, and as much as ten Hag has had problems this season, Varane, I think, really has been missed with his unbelievable experience. He signs off in wonderful fashion, and does this man too.
Pure class in the way he's carrying himself. Guardiola had a short but I think kind word for him when they went and shook hands at the end of the game. I think he said, well done, you deserved it, and maybe good luck for your future as well. But Ten Hag deserves this moment for sure, and so too do those Manchester United fans. A day for them to celebrate, of course, a day to have City bragging rights, a day to taunt as well, I'm sure. And the Manchester City fans already making their way home. Luke Shaw there with a pat on the back for Ten Hag, and well, there some very important people, one of whom might be about to present the cup. So Manchester United fans away in that end will wallow in the glory here. Can you explain, Clive, what went wrong with Manchester City? Is there an attitude thing there? Is it just that they didn't turn up, that the rhythm wasn't quite there? They are a rhythm team, aren't they? What was it?
Well, they came into this final in tremendous form, and a wonderful finish to their Premier League campaign, winning that competition. They would be expecting to come into this, obviously, big favourites. They didn't play anywhere near the level that we've seen them over quite a number of games at the end of the season. So Manchester United had to do their job. They did it to the best of their ability. They have to take the credit. And City will be bitterly disappointed that they haven't been able to produce a performance that we know they're anywhere near capable of.
And Sir Alex Ferguson would have enjoyed every single moment of this, including the nerve-wracking final moments. Doku with that goal. Onana made some wonderful saves, but you wondered for a moment if he'd thrown the FA Cup away. But in the end, they couldn't create another chance, and that almost was the most surprising thing. When City did start playing well, Clive, when they did come on strong, how important were those Alvarez misses early in the second half?
Yeah, I think they responded well. Whatever Pep Guardiola said at half-time, there was a response. There were certainly opportunities. Alvarez, for me, had two glorious chances which he passed up. Two super stops from Onana. Certainly the one from Kyle Walker with his left hand, the strong left hand, was an incredible save. And then Erling Haaland, who didn't have too many chances, had one, and he struck the crossbar. So that's the fine margins once again when you get to this level, and what makes the difference.
Yeah, those are the very, very fine margins indeed. Erik ten Hag with a word here for absolutely everybody, and a sense maybe with his reign of what might have been. We will of course be back with the guys for the trophy presentation. These Manchester United fans will enjoy that. You wonder what the future holds for them. You wonder who'll be in charge next season. You know that in terms of some of the personnel, anyway, they've got a talented young team there potentially. Pep Guardiola will just stand and think and plan for next season and just wonder what went wrong today. It's not often that things go as wrong for Guardiola as that, but they have gone seriously wrong today. There'll be all kinds of analysis, but ultimately the story was of two Manchester United goals in the first half. Garnacho and Mainu, Doku pulling one back late, but it wasn't enough. The trophy presentation, let's get back to Stuart and Martin.
Well, great celebrations for Manchester United, as you can understand, and City. Well, Pep Guardiola said yesterday that if we lose, we want to lose because the opposition was better, not because of our own failings. Well, the opposition was certainly better, but there were some failings.
Yeah, there certainly was from Manchester City. They didn't play at a high enough tempo in that first period. They were also called out too many times on the counter-attack. Their recovery runs, you know, if you're a midfield player and the ball gets played over the top of it, you have to recover and go and support your defenders. And I looked at Man City's midfield players; they didn't recover quickly enough.
Especially on the second goal.
Yeah,
the second United goal. Yeah.
They didn't read danger when balls were played over the top of them. And when they were in possession, they didn't go past anyone enough. The centre forward, I don't think, got involved enough in the game. The big players like De Bruyne, maybe not fully fit. Foden didn't have any sort of effect on the game. There was lots of things that were wrong for Man City.
But from Erik ten Hag's point of view, I mean, the way he's gone around and talked to everybody, you do wonder whether that's a sort of farewell. But for those who've been sitting up for the good and the great on the Manchester United side of the director's box, they're obviously thrilled at what they've seen, but whether they've made a decision, and it was said it's not going to be made on one game, good or bad. And of course they have had a campaign that has broken the wrong kind of records in terms of defeats, goals conceded.
Football has a great habit of knocking people down when they've just reached the top, and that's the case with Man City today. And when things aren't quite going right, you can always achieve the unexpected, and that's what United have done here with a really good performance.
Placing the runners-up medals in the royal box is
So up go
from the British Army.
the losers, not often cast in that role. They can point to one or two things. Pep Guardiola suited and not sweated. Superstition plays a part, and I believe City changed hotels for this particular final and found themselves for the first time for a Wembley occasion in the hotel where they stayed the night before they lost to Wigan 11 years ago. Those things will be trotted out, but the truth is, over 97 minutes of football, they were second best. Their first defeat in domestic competition since December the 6th at Aston Villa.
And now we show your appreciation for today's runners-up, Manchester City.
Hint of a smile. And, get up there, get out and go home, really. And they have got this parade tomorrow. Pep Guardiola, I understand, did want it in the week that's just gone by so that it would recognise the immediacy of the Premier League. You wonder whether there'll be any United fans out there looking at the City bus. But you have to win with dignity and lose with dignity, and apart from that little spat, then Kyle Walker was really frustrated, and even Kevin De Bruyne can manage to smile. They've got a whole individual trophy cabinets full of medals and trophies, and mementos from success.
He's had a great season, hasn't he, Phil Foden? But not today, just didn't happen for him today.
But I just think it shows how important he is, because when he was snuffed out by this collective policy from Erik ten Hag, that only Jeremy Doku there really rattled them.
Well, he was a different sort of player that came on, somebody that was willing to run at people. Then his work cut out against Wan-Bissaka. It was a really good battle. When he came in field and got that shot away, he had a couple of other efforts as well. Created the chance for Haaland and the one for Phil Foden. He certainly made a difference when he came on.
And, even though he wasn't on the team sheet, there's enough medals to go around for Ederson, but losers' medals for those who are serial winners don't get much of a public outing. And Erling Haaland had a particularly frustrating game. He met Manchester United at the wrong time, when Varane and Martinez were not just back in business, but back with their A game.
Well, he did hit the crossbar, Erling Haaland. He had a couple of penalty appeals which were turned down. Particularly one in the first half,
as we just saw there, who's done some marvellous things as the backup goalkeeper, but was very much at fault for the goal that would have brought an early smile to the great man's face. When you think there were 31 points between them in the league, 2 decisive City wins in that campaign, but on neutral soil today, it counted for very little. Very proud, and rightly so, Erik ten Hag, a Wembley winner now in both his seasons at United, the League Cup last year, and this extra special success today.
I think he might be enjoying this as he's walking up the steps.
Eye contact, head held high. And he's in the record books of Manchester United, our 13th triumph in this competition, just one behind Arsenal now.
Good performances, players that haven't played much football. Martinez couldn't last the full 90 minutes, but played his part.
So it's under the watch of Sir Jim Ratcliffe now. He makes the big decisions on the football side, though he's a minority stakeholder in the overall scheme of the Old Trafford business. Problems to sort out, but not today.
Varane, we mentioned several times, one really good balls that were played into the box, defended them well. There was probably the man of the match, Mainu. Good goal and good all-round performance, both defensively and on the counter-attack.
Just waiting for the cue and almost bursting to get up there and receive the acclaim. It must have been the most difficult week for Erik ten Hag. Maybe being told that his time is coming to an end. Maybe not. Maybe this has turned a few thoughts in a different direction. But what we can say, the Dutchman put on a masterclass of coaching to outwit a side that has won 4 Premier League titles in a row, the side that beat them here in the FA Cup final last season.
Well, he used the same tactics, didn't he, in that game at the Etihad in the Premier League. And they worked for a long period of the game until Phil Foden got that equaliser, and then City went on to win the game. But same sort of formation, same tactics, but this time they did it much better.
Well, for how long, I don't know, but certainly for today, Manchester reunited was the best essence of this wonderful world game, that the team counts, and he would have been proud of the togetherness. Of course, his first trophy was an FA Cup in similar circumstances, where they were calling for his head in 1990. And they beat Crystal Palace after a replay. They hadn't won the cup until a recent meeting with Crystal Palace 2016.
He had to make a massive decision that day, didn't he, in the replay, to leave out Jim Leighton.
Yeah, the goalkeeper.
Les Seeley came in and played in the replay.
Well, it's a Wembley trophy that comes with the bonus of Europe. 8th in the Premier League. But in this competition, they are number 1. Manchester United are today the pride of Manchester and the much cherished prize as winners of the 2024 FA Cup. A triumph in keeping with the whole ethos of this fantastic competition. Well, it'll be passed down the line, Stuart, and everyone has played a part who's been on that pitch today, and the journey they've got through against the odds. I was here for the Coventry game where it looked as though they'd lost 4-3. They'd beaten Liverpool 4-3 when they were really the poorer side, even though it was played at Old Trafford. And that old expression, if your name's on it, you're going to get moments like this. Their name is certainly on it now.
It is on it now, that game against Liverpool, when they were losing the game and it looked as though Liverpool were going to go and score another. They were completely dominant in that second half, but there was a really good comeback that day. And they just about got through against Coventry, as you mentioned. But this was a much, much better performance.
It is glory, glory, Man United today. And the City end is empty. Almost from the first minute, Stuart, when Marcus Rashford had that run and made Manchester City suddenly look a little bit vulnerable, a little bit sloppy, a little bit maybe not quite as focused as they would be if they hadn't won the league 6 days earlier. You can conjecture all those things, but it happened like that in the opening seconds.
It did. The ball went into Bruno Fernandes, who was playing in what we would call a false 9 position, and Marcus Rashford made the run in behind Walker, and he thought, there's the warning sign. And Man City didn't seem to realise that was going to happen time and time again. Even for the second goal, the great crossfield pass that it was from Rashford out to Garnacho, and the move developed from there. But they looked a constant threat on the counter-attack, and they were able to do that because they were able to defend much better because they defended in numbers and were a threat with only 3 or 4 players breaking forward. So it was a really good display by United.
The City never really recovered from giving away probably the worst goal they've conceded this season. Might be 1 or 2 others in there, but a moment of chaos between defender and goalkeeper, and this is no place to make mistakes like that.
And there's a couple of instances late on in the game when the ball was just hoofed forward, up in the air, and the substitute, Hoyland, chased it and won 2 free kicks when he was never favourite to win the ball. And that's the effort, the determination that we haven't always seen from a disjointed Manchester United over the course of the season. But today, they were together, they played as a team, they worked their socks off. For either the manager or for themselves, we don't know, but a really good performance.
Well, in his days, there was an Eric who won the FA Cup for Manchester United as a player. Today, Eric, the coach, has undoubtedly masterminded this underdog success for the red half of Manchester.
And this was a better final than that one you're talking about when Eric Cantona scored the winner.
Yeah, that's true. And Andre Onana had some very good moments in it. He'll be pushing the goal he conceded out of his mind, hopefully with a bit more success than he pushed the ball around the post as he was trying to do. But he's stuck at it, and he said yesterday, it's only the last few weeks, it took me 6 months to feel what it was like to be a Man United goalkeeper. And Marcus Rashford, who's had the finger of suspicion pointed at him by the critics, who say, well, why haven't you done this season what you did last season? It's not quite as simple as that.
No, but I think his body language at times hasn't been particularly good. His work rate hasn't been particularly good. Sometimes that comes through a lack of confidence. When your form is gone, you look as though you're not working quite as hard. But today he worked really hard. He tried to carry out the game plan that Erik ten Hag and his staff were hoping to implement. And Rashford played his part as well.
That spells it out for you, doesn't it? The winners 2024 of the Emirates FA Cup, and the champagne corks can pop and the real celebrations can start. And sometimes in the FA Cup you might get a lucky win. Manchester United might say we've had one or two on the way to get to this final. Today was totally merited, and Manchester City, despite Pep Guardiola having a little bit of a conversation with referee Andy Madley after the final whistle. This, Stuart, final word from you. This really was totally deserved, surely.
It certainly was. Tactics were right, the determination, they carried out the game plan perfectly, and it must be so pleasing for those supporters that haven't had a great season. Fully deserved for the manager and the players.
Well, they've beaten the best, and the reward is all this jubilation here, the silverware, and remember the place in Europe. It would only have been, I think, the second time in over 40 years that Manchester United have missed out on European club competition. They haven't missed out simply because they didn't miss out today.
So lovely scenes for Erik ten Hag and for Manchester United. Their fans are going to wallow in this, enjoy this in the sunshine at Wembley for some time, and why not? After the season they've had, they deserve to celebrate. Manchester United's day indeed. We could take a look back at how they did it.